This is part one of an interview with Ron Paul, and this is from 1990. It was actually during the first Gulf War. His message still applies today. It's funny how history repeats itself.
Well, let's see how our panel of experts analyze things. Dr. Sheldon Richman is a scholar with the Institute for Humane Studies. Joe Sobran is the Washington editor of the National Review. And our host and permanent panelist is the chairman of the National Endowment for Liberty, Ron Paul. Ron, why do we keep getting into these foreign predicaments?
I think there's a basic flaw in our policy. We've gone astray. We do not follow the Constitution. We do not follow our American traditions. And especially in this century, our policy has changed. We have become an interventionist government. I believe we became interventionists in many areas. Not only does our government intervene in our personal lives, our government intervenes in the economy, and it intervenes in the internal affairs of other nations. No longer do we take the advice of our founders and what was traditionally the American non-interventionist foreign policy. And I think it's going to continue. This is not a tactical fight. This is not a discussion of when you should go in. The left and the right so often argue about, well, we should go in, he's the enemy, we'll attack him, but we'll let this person alone. And then they switch and they flip-flop, and we lead to a disaster. We don't know why we go into these areas, and it leads to disasters like Korea and Vietnam. Not too long ago, I saw one of our members of Congress on the Judiciary Committee, who's considered a constitutional scholar who would argue for the strict interpretation of the Constitution, argued that the president has the authority to take over Baghdad, march to Baghdad and take it over. And the news commentator asked him, he said, what about the Constitution? The Constitution says that only Congress can declare war. And he came back and he said, well, it doesn't say there's no prohibition for the president to wage war. That was his rationalization. I think that's a basic flaw in our system. And I think that we, as American citizens, will have to come to grips with this. And I have to go to my panel tonight and ask, and just what do you think, and what should we do, and how can this come about? Do you agree that we should be policing the world, or where did we go wrong on this? Joe, what is your opinion of this?
Well, there are no commonly accepted rules or laws under which anyone could police the whole world. What tips me off about the shaky nature of this proposed war is the shifting rationales we get for it. First we hear that our vital interests are at stake, oil, and then we hear, no, it's not oil, it's Saddam Hussein's military capacity. We have to stop him now. Well, that's preposterous. Too. In fact, that's sillier than the oil argument. We keep hearing our vital interests are at stake. What vital interests? Why our vital interests and not Bolivia's vital interests? Why is our fate always allegedly at stake everywhere when we're a big and very self-sufficient country?
Well, I think this is a...
someone once said that the point is not to examine a folly, but to see what it accomplishes. Tom Paine said long ago that taxes were not raised to carry on wars, but rather wars were raised to carry on taxes. You have to look at the interests that are served by a big military. We have a problem, as was said earlier in the program. The Defense Department was on its way to having its budget cut just before Saddam Hussein went into Iraq. This saved a lot of people's jobs and budgets, and we can't discount that. That the reason they want to rush in with all this force is because they have to save an otherwise crumbling military establishment that should be crumbling along with the Soviet Union. And
I slightly disagree. I don't think this was a Pentagon-driven thing. I have the impression that Bush is simply an impulsive, manipulable man. The last few weeks have shown that in domestic politics have shown that he's the unstable guy here. I mean, we talk about Saddam Hussein being a madman and all that. Well, I have to wonder a little bit about our own fearless leader here. Not that he's crazy, certifiably, but that he's just not got a grip on things in general.
So it seems that Ron Paul is the only 2008 presidential candidate who has maintained constant integrity with his views and policies, even while all the other candidates are consistently flip-flopping. Now, I guess I probably wouldn't include Dennis Kucinich in that. I think that he sticks to his principles, and I respect him for that. But the rest of them, they are quite good at flip-flopping. Ron Paul is the only presidential candidate who wants to decrease the power of the president and return our government to what the founding fathers originally intended it. Democrats may want to end the war in Iraq, but only Ron Paul will end all illegal wars and global police actions. After all, even leading Democrats like Hillary Clinton are saying that there is no option off the table when dealing with Iran, not even preemptive nuclear strikes against Iran, which, if you don't understand what that means, is us dropping a nuclear bomb on Iran before they have provoked us. I don't know if that sounds crazy to you. It sounds crazy to me. And I think Hillary Clinton is nutso.